everybody. How are you? This is Crazy Coach Cynthia Robinson coming on here live for your talk today. This is the Crazy Within talk show. This is our winter edition. And we're going to start off this year talking about something that I feel is really important for everybody, and that is purpose. We start out January a lot of times with goals, resolutions. We start out that we're going to be doing this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to grow, I'm going to walk into my purpose, I'm going to do the things that God has called me to do. And so today, what I want to talk about is your purpose. And I want to not just talk about your purpose, but I want you to understand and get clarity on what purpose is. And so with that being said, I have on someone that I have known for years, someone I do love dearly, and she is someone who can break down purpose for you. If you didn't know what your purpose was and how your purpose affects your life, I'm telling you, by the end of the show, you will know. And so let me introduce her first before I bring her on. I do have her bio. Linda Hillman, affectionately known as Miss Purpose, trust me, it's true, is the founding and senior pastor of the New Life Ministries in San Francisco, California. She is the founding member of Living Above Her LLC, which hosts annual destination retreats and leadership conferences. She is a published author with several titles on Amazon and distributed worldwide. As a life and financial coach, Linda empowers individuals to live their best life on purpose. She recently started hosting weekly podcasts, This Is Me Show and Conversations to Be Had, which deals with life's issues and have conversations most clergy avoid. Her guests share their stories of triumph turns into from tragedies turns into triumph with raw, real emotions. She travels the world, preaches and teaches kingdom principles. Her dynamic, practical, and revolutionary ways of sharing God's truths are unique to her anointing. Her mission is to bring restoration and wholeness to the ones who feel hopeless and helpless. Linda recently moved back to San Francisco. She owns two businesses, Destined to Be You LLC and Done Right Financial Solutions. She loves being with her family and the solitude of sitting by the beach, watching the waves crash along the shore. My other kindred spirit. You will find Linda with her caramel. I'm not gonna say that from Starbucks because I don't know. Okay, her Kindle at three folds, relaxing at home or some scenic location. Thus, her story continues. And I want to bring on my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful co-host for this evening, pastor, author, podcaster, uh, and Miss Purpose herself, Linda Hillman. Please welcome her, everybody. Hey.
Thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here. It's an honor.
And so I am so happy to have you on my show, and I'm glad to have you on the first episode for this new season, this new year. We're in 2023.
Yes,
and I am so excited to have you on the show. So, Pastor, please let us start from the beginning of your book ministry. When was your first book written?
My first book was written in 2007. It took me 31 days to write, and that was called Will You Be Made Whole? And to put a long story short, God told me to write my life story. And I chose to write about the woman with the issue of blood. And so I wrote that in 31 days, and God would not allow me to publish it and get it out to the world until I actually wrote my story, which was Don't Count Me Out. So once I wrote that, then the first book I wrote was able to be published. And you know me, I God gives me stuff and I'll write. So I had written like 3 or 4 books in between Will You Be Made Whole and Don't Count Me Out. So all of those came out at the same time.
Wow. So you are somebody who is very comfortable sitting down and writing a book.
Yes, yes, yes. When thus saith the Lord, I can
Lord.
write.
And so, talking about writing your books, um, is that where you started really starting to zone in on purpose?
Actually, zoning in on purpose came in 2004, and I was feeling lost. I was feeling meaningless. I had no direction. Now all this time I was in church, I was doing ministry. So some people will say, well, you were walking your purpose, you was doing what God put you on earth to do, you were supposed to do that, right? But I was about to kill myself. I was about to take my own life. I was not happy. I told God, if this is life, I don't want it. Let me check out now. And God told me, you're trying to live all you know how to be saved, and you're about to go to hell, not because I wanted to kill myself, but because I was outside of his will.
Wow.
And that's when I said, okay, you're going to have to tell me this because you're talking to Linda, right? I'm your favorite. What's really going on? How you gonna send your favorite to hell? And that's when he gave me the revelation that I have about purpose.
Oh my. And I just want to say now, she said something that's deep because I think a lot of people miss that. You can be lost and be in ministry. You can, come on now, you can be lost and be in ministry. You can be preaching on the pulpit and still be lost to the purpose of your life for God. Because I think a lot of us, and I don't really want people to get this mixed up, you can be called to do certain things, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily your purpose. That's why
Right.
I say some people who are preaching shouldn't be preaching, because you might be a very good orator. You speak well, but
Right.
that doesn't mean you should be a pastor or an
And,
apostle or a bishop.
and it could be that that's part of what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to ask God, what's the whole complete thing? Because when we look at Jesus, you know, and normally when I'm doing business, I don't really go into the spiritual aspect of it. But because I know the type of people we're probably ministering to right now, when you look at Jesus, he wasn't just a healer. He wasn't just the one who raised the dead. He wasn't just a speaker that went out and preached the gospel. He wasn't just, you know, someone who people came to as a counselor. He was all of that, but he was there to die.
Right.
His purpose was to die so that we would have life. While he was doing what on his way to his purpose, then he found these other things that he could do that were avenues to enhance his purpose.
Yes. And so we have to be clear when it comes to purpose. And we'll talk about that because that's going to be a session all itself tonight. But before we get into all of that, I want to talk about her ministry because, as I said, she is a pastor. She is a pastor of New Life Ministries in San Francisco. So, Pastor, tell us how that started, when it started. Tell us a little bit about your ministry.
Yes, ma'am. Um, God called me to ministry when I was 6. I was 6 years old. Um, and then he reconfirmed it. And my then pastor in San Francisco said, you know what, I'm going to send you out. So I preached my first sermon at 14.
Wow.
And hold on, I'm getting some feedback. I preached my first sermon when I was 14, and then at 24 is when I knew that I was going to be a pastor.
Wow.
Um, and so, you know, the grooming started as far as me sitting and learning from other female pastors, from male pastors, and all of that. But God did not release me to start this ministry until 2017, because I was messed up, mucked up. And had I started the church anytime before the time that God released me, there would be a whole bunch of hurt folk walking around here bleeding because of me. And so God made sure that he protected his people until I was ready to lead the way he wanted me to lead. So 2017 is when New Life Ministries began in San Francisco. And we are still going strong. And this will be year number 6.
Amen. Amen. That is wonderful. And so, with New Life Ministries, what is your thought process as far as what is your teachings at your ministry?
Well, we definitely go with the apostles' doctrine. And that's found in Luke, the 24th chapter. I think I should have looked it up, because I know I got some Bible scholars like, oh, she said it wrong. But it's where Jesus told him, when he was sending the disciples out 2 by 2, he told them to go preach remission of sins, and to, basically, like he said in Matthew, teach others what he had taught them, and make disciples. And so we definitely go on that. We stand on the Bible. You do not get Linda's opinion on anything. I pray about everything. But I also, because of who I now know that I am, we do a lot. Our tagline is, you're destined to be who God created you to be. So I put a high focus on knowing exactly who you are in the world and how that translate into your Christian walk.
Wow, wow. And with that being said, is that why you did Destined to Be You LLC? Is that how that got started?
Well, actually, that started before the church, but
Oh, wow. Okay.
God gave me the name Destined to Be You back in 2004, when I went through that process with him. That's what he kept telling me, is that, Linda, you are destined to be who I created you to be. And so I got the title of, or the name of my business, from that revelation.
And Destined to Be You, that's your life coach business?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And so, if someone came to you and, or well, somebody wanted to find you to be a part of your uh, life coach business, as far as like being a client,
Yes.
how would they reach out to you? How would they find you?
Well, they can always get me through email, but I do have a Facebook page. Right now, I'm upgrading the actual website. So the website is not up right now, but they can get me through the Facebook page. And I also have an Instagram page that they can reach out to me on. And for this, because I knew I was coming today, I was praying and asking God, what could I offer anyone that, hears something and it resonates with them, and they decide I may want to work with her. You always get a free 30-minute consultation with me, so we can see if we're a good fit, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? Um, and I recognize that, and I, being, strategic, intentional, and on purpose,
Mhm.
I am not afraid to say we're not a good fit.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
I can't preach purpose and not live purpose, right?
yes.
So when you come to me, we have our 30-minute consultation, and that's a free consultation. But if you mention this show, if you say you saw me on this show and you want to work with me, what I'm doing is giving you access to an online program that I have, which is called Climb Every Mountain, and you can get into that for $180.
All right, all
And
right. I
believe
love
me,
it.
it is a lot more than that. But for this, I prayed about it, and sometimes God has me do some things, and I don't question Him no more. I used to question Him. Now I'll be like, okay, God, whatever you say. You are the CEO. I'm just your worker bee.
I know that's
Um,
right. So,
so it's $180. It is a 12-week program, and you go at your own pace.
all right. Now I'm putting that in Facebook. Um, Amen. And so you also have several other businesses. This woman is very busy. She is not she is not without. She has several businesses. And then she has another business. And I think this is how we met. Um, Living above hurt. And I believe that might be how we met through God rest her soul, Diana Flagg, because I think I met you way back. It was way back, way back.
Yeah. I thought our connection was Coach Lalisa, but I might be wrong.
Oh, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, all of this thing. Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit well, the name itself is pretty self-explanatory, but could you tell us a little bit about living above hurt?
Yes. Living above hurt is came to me. A friend of mine had a dream and said that I started a business, and the initials were my initials for my name, which are LAH. And so I always remembered that. And when I was dealing with, when I first started doing ministry on the internet. I was on Blog Talk Radio, and I was doing whole ministries, which is women healed of life's experiences.
Mhm.
And I was doing that, and God started talking to me about some other things, living living above hurt, women, what is it called? Women of Worth, destination retreats, and all of this. And I was like, well, God, all of this has to fall up under something. And Whole Ministries was already an entity to itself. And so God said, well, remember, you were supposed to start a ministry, or you were supposed to start a business with your initials, and I just gave you living above hurt. And if you look at it, it's your initials, so make that your LLC, and everything else will fall up under that. So Whole Ministries and Wild Retreats all fall up under the living above hurt. And what we do is I deal with women that have gone through traumatic situations in life, that are in transition, and they need to find their footing and try to understand why they went through what they went through, and what life has for them now that they're out of it. And so that's what we do with living above hurt, because there is life after hurt.
Yes, there is, and there's always, even in the hurt, there's always some message. There's
Right.
always some type of process that we're going through where we learn how to get through the hurt, get to a place of freedom, get to a place where we're not bound, where we're not being held captive to those things that have hurt us and left us sometimes in distress, have left us feeling like we can't.
Right.
Um, when God has always given us the ability to can. Like, we can
Yes.
get through this. We can live the best. We can live above the hurt.
Right.
Um, and so to be able to have a place where you can go and rest, because I think that for a lot of us, especially those of us in ministry, where we've been taught, especially within a lot of Black families, where
Right.
you've been taught to what happens in the house stays in the house, and we don't tell
Right.
them nothing, or you don't go be telling people all your business and all that other stuff. We don't
Right.
realize that sometimes we need that outlet. We need a
Right.
place where we can go and we can release, relate, get our mind right, get some rest, and
Right.
reset. Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to reset. There are things
Right.
that we sort of program ourselves to do that we have to learn how to reset. That we
Right.
have to go someplace and get reset. And sometimes we don't personally see it because we're the person living it. And
Right.
it's not until somebody else points it out to you that you begin to realize, I didn't realize I did that. I didn't
Right.
realize I would, or I didn't realize I was doing that.
Right.
I didn't
And
realize I was
sometimes is we don't even know where to go. Because I
Sure.
know with me, when, being a person that was molested and abused and some other things that have happened in my life, I didn't know who to talk to, because when you talk to people, they look at you like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that happened, just get over it, right? Or
Right.
they don't believe you at all. So I'm grateful to the Me Too movement that came out. But again, they're doing a disservice, because they're telling people, rip off the band-aid and tell your story, because Me Too, right? But
Right.
where does the healing come in? Where
Yes.
does the
Yes.
dealing with that and looking at it, and not walking out with the baggage, but walking out with what, like you said, the lesson that was to be learned, that made you stronger, made
Yeah.
you wiser, made you better.
Yeah.
We got to stop using these cliches and not living them, you
That's
know?
right. That's right. And I say it all the time. A lot of us walk around with the hurt and pain as some type of badge of honor that this has happened to me,
Right.
instead of realizing that Jesus came to heal us from these things. And so it's not a badge of honor. We have to learn to become survivors. We have to become victorious. But
Right.
if we don't have a place to run to, if we don't have people that we can talk to, and even on top of that, when we don't want to talk, let's be honest, some
Right.
of us don't want to talk about those things.
Right.
We leave ourselves vulnerable for the new hurt to come. Because if you never deal with past hurt, new hurt is going to come. And it's just
Right.
going to compound on top of it and compounds on top of it. And you're going to find yourself in a place of constant hurt, of constant trying to live above the pain, and you
Right.
can't,
Right.
because you've never really dealt with it. You've never given it a voice. You've never given it a name. And you also haven't said, that's not who I am. It's something
Right.
that happened to me, but that's not who I am.
It does not define me. And
Yeah.
that's what God had to show me when I said that God showed me his way of purpose. He was showing me stuff, and I was like, well, that's how you created me. That's how you made me. And God, he was like, y'all got to understand, I can get a little bit in God's face, so God gets back in my face. And he was like, Linda, you're a lie. That's
Mhm.
not how I made you.
Yes,
This
yes,
is what I need you to recognize, because you're going around and you're walking in bitterness, you're walking in anger, you're
yes.
walking in strife, you're causing problems for yourself, because you say that you're healed, but you really aren't healed. And so what you're calling a scar is a wound. And he reminded me of when I fell off a horse one time. I had a piece of wood go in my leg, and it gave me a gaping hole. And when I went to the doctor said, this hole cannot heal over. So you got to keep this gauge or this gauze inside the hole to keep it open, so it can heal from the inside out.
Mm.
And God said that's the same way in real life. When you get scarred or get wounded, and it's a deep wound, and it's a wound that tears you up and it messes with your identity, you've got to let that thing heal from the inside out. And so there's a process to do that, but you've got to be willing. And I was at that time willing to hear what God had to say, because, like I said, I was going through a period where I was thinking about taking my own life. But
Yeah.
I was a preacher, and I was preaching the gospel and prophesying and teaching and doing all of that stuff. But I wanted to take my life, and God was like, this is not how I created you, and this is not why I created you. And
Yes.
you can't go out like this, because there are people waiting on you. And
Yes.
what happens to the people that are waiting on the healed Linda? The Linda that I actually created. Because we love to quote Jeremiah 29:11, but what does that really mean?
Yes, yes, yes. And that is so true. We quote that as if we are truly living what God, and I said this earlier this year. Well, not too long ago. I said that on one of my on my lives. Is that for a lot of us, it's God
Yes.
who did it, not us. We're not a part of the conversation. And that's why a lot of us are misdirected, because we were never part of the conversation
Right.
of the thoughts that God had towards us. We weren't a
Right.
part of that conversation. That's why
Right.
we need clarity on what it is, because for a lot of us, we don't know. We allow what other people say we're going to be. We allow what other people say we can't do.
Right.
We allow, and some people, it's good intentions. Some people will look at you and they think certain things about you and they go, oh, you'll be good at this, you'll be good at that, you could do this, you could do that. Not realizing that's not what God called you to do. That's actually not
That
even
part.
the realm of what God called you to do.
Right.
Just, as I said before, just because you may be a good orator does not mean that you are going meant to be in the pulpit.
Right.
But you might be very good at teaching young people in a school. You
Right.
might be a very good teacher. You might be good at business because you can get people to do things because of the way that you speak. So you can run a business very effectively. There is nothing wrong with being a. I think all of us think once we get saved, everybody's got to go work in the church. Somebody got to go work in the marketplace. We have to go work in the marketplace. Everybody's not going to be preaching in the pulpit. Everybody's not going to be an apostle or a bishop or a fivefold
Listen,
ministry.
Jesus was a carpenter
Yes, come on now.
and he did ministry. It's all right to do both.
All right.
It's all right to do both. You can still be
Absolutely.
anointed and appointed and
Yes,
cast out a devil or two and go and have you a real job. Come
that's
on, somebody. And I'm not saying
right.
that being a preacher ain't a real job. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that may not be all that God has for you. And so you got to embrace it.
Right.
And when I did that, when I embraced it, that's when I started to see the life in that more abundantly.
Yes, yes. And talking about your other business, because I told y'all she got businesses. She got businesses. She's got businesses. The other business that she has is called Done Right Financial Solutions. And can you tell everybody what's done right? What's done right?
Done Right Financial Solutions is a way for people who want to build generational wealth. And when I say generational wealth, I'm not talking about stacking money in a bank. I'm talking about every part of your life being whole and being wealthy. Because wealth is your health, wealth is your money, wealth is your relationships, wealth is your emotions. All of that has to be healthy.
Yes.
And so I teach people in finances, but also in every other area of your life, how to bring that up so you can build a legacy that will live beyond you. And it's based on what the Bible said in Acts 13 chapter about David. It said he lived, David did all that he was supposed to do, and then he died.
Mm, mm.
And if you remember, he gave his son Solomon a whole
List.
bank, if you will, of money to build the church. So Solomon didn't have to worry about that. So finances is a part of that. So Done Right Financial Solutions is just that. I help you with your credit. I help you with your taxes. I help you with, now I'm getting into real estate, so I can do that part of it. So every aspect of financial growth, I'm there, and I'm more of an educator. So don't come to me and say, well, what should I invest in? Because that's not what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a financial coach. You tell me what you want to happen, and then I make sure and hold you accountable to get you to where you say you want to be. And I help you with techniques that are going to better you, that you can pass on to your children, because that's what it's about. The Bible says that we should leave a legacy or an inheritance for our children's children.
That's right. That's
So you can't just stop at your grown children. You got to make sure their children are taken care of and their children are taken care of. And so that's what Done Right Financial Solutions does.
and that is so one. Okay, so I might have to bring you back for that because February is my finance month, and I want us as a community to really
Right.
begin. I think during the pandemic, I think it became really clear that a lot of us are not financially sound, and
No.
I just don't mean like you living day to day. I'm talking about making sure that if anything should happen to you, that financially your family is not carrying that burden. I don't
Right.
know how many people do the Instagram or not Instagram, but they're doing the oh gosh, where they're trying to raise money fund me. You're trying to
Yeah.
fund it, and you're trying to raise money for someone's funeral.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way. We should,
Right.
while you are still alive and able and capable of putting money aside in order to financially make sure that you are not making your family shipwrecked, by financially taking care of you after you're gone. It
Right.
shouldn't be that way. It should
Right.
actually be easier. Your family should be able to bury you with the money you already set aside. But for a lot
Right.
of us, we
And pay all your bills so
pay
they
all
don't have to
the
take
bills.
out of their money.
Right.
Amen.
And be able to mourn you without being angry at you, because
Right.
it's a big difference between going to the funeral home and saying, okay, they had life insurance, everything's taken care of, and you can mourn that person, and instead of being in a situation where you're going to the funeral home and you're going, I don't know how we're going to pay for this, what kind
Right.
of things can we do.
You got to go sell some flowers in the middle of the
Right,
road.
right. You got to do a fund me in order to fund the funeral, and it shouldn't be
Right.
that way. You know
Right.
that, and especially for us church folks, it shouldn't be that way. So,
Right. Right.
um,
Because if we're following, and one of the things I can say, both of my businesses, I use biblical principles. Like I said, even though I may not say, well, this is what the Bible says, if I'm talking to a client, it's all based in the Bible. Everything that God has shown me about purpose, everything He's shown me about getting money and understanding money, all comes from the Bible. And it starts because a lot of people don't want to go there, but I'm a pastor and I feel all right about it. It starts with paying the tithe, and the tithe isn't just the
yes,
10th, right? We want to stop at the 10th. I ain't giving them people my money, but there's a part of the tithe, a tenth of it goes to the church. Then there was a fifth, or yeah, 1/5 that went to the person that was spiritually advising you. Then there is a tenth that you're supposed to be saving, and then there's another tenth that you give to the poor. We don't do that. So when the Bible talks about bringing the whole tithe, we only bring a portion of the tithe, and we've been doing that for years because nobody has taught us what the whole tithe is. But if you look at the Jewish people, and people get mad because they're taking over the world, is what they say, but they are following that biblical principle, and it works for them whether they say I believe Jesus or not.
right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. And that is something that we need to. I don't. Most of us need to pay more attention to, because a lot of us don't live the. We live what we've been taught, and
Right.
now some churches are even teaching you don't have to pay your tithes.
Right.
It is taking that out of the church. A lot of
Right.
stuff is
But
leaving
if
out of
you're
the
gonna,
church.
this is what I'm gonna say about that, and then we can move on because
I learned it.
we'll be here all day. But this is what I'm gonna say. If you believe the Bible, the Bible,
Come on now.
you gonna believe Old Testament and New Testament.
Absolutely.
Yes, Jesus came to fulfill the law, but he did not kill the law.
Come on, come on. That's it. That's
God
it.
is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And tithing did not start with the law. Abraham was not under the law and he paid a tithe. Abel was not under the law and he paid a tithe. So
Yes.
if you are going to go with that and say, well, the law was done away with it, that's not true. Even Jesus in the New Testament said that you pay your tithes, which you ought to do, but you can't forget about the rest of it. He gave us a clue right there that there's more to the tithe than what we're teaching. And so if you get a true understanding, the Bible says wisdom is the principal thing, and in all thy getting, get an understanding. If
Yes.
you get an understanding, then you don't have to buck up against paying tithes, because you understand that the blessing that's attributed to the tithe is yours, whether you believe God or not.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we get mad at the 1%ers, but a lot of them, when you study, they are in their own way giving a tithe.
Yes. Yes. And you can't knock people who are living out the principles.
Right.
because a lot of people are living out principles, and a lot of the church is not living out the principles. They'll claim it, but they're not living it. They are
Right.
not living it. So before we go on our own little tangent, let's talk about this. And I didn't know you was doing this, so I'm excited about this, Miss Podcast. Let's talk about your two podcasts.
Well, now it's 3.
Oh my God! Oh, look at her. Go ahead. All right. All right.
So I do have This Is Me show, and This Is Me show is tied directly into Living Above Hurt. So, like I said, it deals with women who have gone through traumatic things and now they are thriving. I don't say surviving, they are thriving and prospering. And so they come on and they tell their story, and we get raw and real with it. And they share their lessons. That's what the This Is Me show is about. The conversations to be had are topics that you can't get pastors to talk about on Sunday, and probably not even in Bible study.
Come
But
on
we
now.
talk about those things because, to me, in Sunday school, I learned, to remember how to spell Bible. We were taught basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yes.
And as simple as that may sound, the Bible is basic. It's the start. It's the reasonable service thing, right? So if you're reading the Bible, what you are getting is a practical guide on how to live your life. And so we use the Bible to have these conversations that churches are not having, conversations about money, conversations about sin, conversations about molestation, conversations about sexual assault, conversations about domestic violence, conversations about church hurt, whatever is not being talked inside the four walls of the church is being talked about on Conversations to Be Had. And the third one I just started is simply called The Linda Hillman Show. So if you can think about Oprah Winfrey, that's the type of show it is. We
All
bring
right.
people on to educate, to empower, and we talk a lot about purpose on that show.
That's fantastic. And so, where can we catch your podcast?
Right now, I'm using, oh God, what is it? Buzz something. I, I didn't think you were going to ask me about it, but I'm using Buzz. So I believe they should be wherever you get your podcast, because I think that's
Oh,
what it
okay.
does. So wherever you get it, that's where it is. I had stopped doing them in the middle of last year, so I'm getting back started with it. So be looking out for that to come up. You can follow me on Instagram to get when the episodes are coming out.
All right. That is wonderful. So we have on the show this evening, pastor, author, podcaster. Let me say podcaster, financial coach, life coach, uh, Linda Hillman, talking about all that she does, and she's not finished. Okay, she is not finished. If there's one more area that we are going to be talking about, and we're going to let that take over the rest of the show, and
Yes,
that's going
ma'am.
to be Miss Purpose.
Yes.
And she's going to be talking about purpose. So first, let's start with this one. What is purpose?
What is purpose? Let me do it. Because I've been doing a lot of talking and I hate to hear my own voice.
Oh my God.
Let me do it this way.
Go ahead.
When a potter, if you will, for lack of a better word, when a potter makes a plate, what is that plate made for?
To eat off of.
Okay, so we put our food on it and we eat off of it, right?
Right.
But can you use that plate for other things?
I think you can.
Yeah, I've seen people use a plate as a plant holder. They put it up to touch the water. I've seen people that didn't have a pot for their, a lid for their pot,
Yes.
use it as a. So you can use a plate for several different other things, but the thing that it was made for is to be in front of you as a dinner plate or a breakfast plate or whatever it is. So you're supposed to eat your food off of it. Whenever someone makes something, they have in mind what that thing is going to be used for.
Yes.
Period. Now, you can use it for whatever you want once you buy it, but the purpose of it, that does not change because you use it for something else. If it's a table, it's a table. If it's a chair, it's a chair. So when we looked at Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, "For I know the thoughts I have concerning you," and God has these plans for your life. In Psalms 139, he says, "I wrote your insides even before they were formed, and I have many thoughts about you, and I wrote them in a book." Those things, God knew when you were born what you were supposed to do. And he knew that you were needed in the time that you were born. Why not 100 years ago? Why not 100 years from now? Why are you here right now? Why do you exist? That's what purpose is about. It is a set thing that does not change.
Mm, mm, mm. Did y'all catch that? Purpose is a set thing that does not change. And for a lot of us, I'm going to say this again. I don't want to disrespect anybody when I say this. But be very clear when you allow other people to tell you what your purpose is, because it will jam you up, it will hem you up, it will have you going in the wrong direction for a long time if you don't catch. That's not where you should be. Now,
Right.
let me say this. Sometimes people see your purpose or they see what it is you're supposed to do, and
Potential.
and they see it, but you walk in it too early. Like you're really not ready for it at that moment. Though it may be your purpose. It may be
Right.
exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but not right now. I always use David as the analogy for that. David got anointed as king when he was 13. But bruh man didn't get to that job until he was in his 30s. And
Right.
so there comes a process that happens when God sets your purpose to be known. Now, somebody else may know it.
Right.
You know, somebody else may see it and they'll be like, "Oh, God said you're going to do this and God said you're going to do that." And it's not to say that's not going to happen, but it doesn't say it's going to happen next week. It doesn't say it's going to happen next month. It's not even saying it's going to happen in a year. It's just saying that I'm letting you know right now, this is what I called you for. This is what your life purpose is. Now, to go from purpose to walking it out, there's a process.
Right. Right. And you got to remember too, like I said, purpose is a set thing. So it does not change. And people use words like calling, mission, vision, passion, find your passion, and they say that's purpose. And I beg to differ. That's not purpose, because your calling can change, your mission can change, your vision can change, your passions can change. One of the things that God showed me, passion is like gas in a vehicle, right? You go to the Shell station. I love Shell gas. So I go to the Shell station, put some gas in my car, and that gas lasts for, 200, 300 miles or whatever it is until I have to gas up again. Some people say, well, I lost my passion, but you didn't lose your purpose, because purpose is set. A table is always a table. Even if it loses a leg, a table is still a table. So
Yeah.
we've got to be careful what we say, because words have power. So we say my passion is my purpose, but then when that passion burns out, you are lost, because now I don't know what I'm here for. I don't know why I exist.
Correct.
So you got to ask God, why am I breathing? I know that sounds kind of harsh, but that's what you got to ask. God, why am I breathing? Why am I here? Because if you show me why I'm here, then you will show me the avenues that I have in front of me to take. So I talked about passion being gas, and you got to put it in a vehicle. You got to look at purpose as that vehicle.
Right, right.
Purpose, some purposes can be Maseratis, some purposes can be slug bugs, right? It does, the vehicle doesn't matter as long as it gets you from point A to point B. Some people gonna go in style, some people not. But you gotta recognize that you're in a vehicle that does not change. If it's a Maserati, I mean, you understand what I'm saying? They can
Yeah,
change the
yeah.
design from year to year, but it's still a Maserati.
Yes, yes.
Okay, they can change the design of a Pinto or a slug bug, a Volkswagen bug, but it's still a Volkswagen bug,
Right,
you
right.
know. And you got to recognize that there's buses, there's trucks, and all of that. The vehicle that you get into is your purpose, and that purpose has four tires. And those tires, what I like to say is those tires are resources, and someone's like, okay, you lost me there because I don't have no resources. Baby, start where you at. If all you got is two pennies to put together, and resources isn't just money, but if we gonna talk money, let's talk money. If you got two pennies to put together, you use those two pennies and you do your purpose. You don't let anything block or stop you from doing your purpose, because you need the resources, you need influence, you need opportunities, and you need to be willing. What I find is that the more willing you are, the more resources you'll get, the more influence you'll get, and the more opportunities you'll get. So everything will come to you if you're willing. But you've got to be willing to say, God, why do I exist? And show me the real reason why I'm here on earth. Why am I here right now? Why did I make it through COVID? Why didn't I that car accident not take me out? Because many of us have had near misses, but we're still breathing. Why? Because we haven't accomplished our purpose yet.
Yes.
I'm gonna turn on my light. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead, go ahead. I hope y'all are catching all these jewels that she's talking about tonight, because for a lot of us, we really don't know why we're here. It's a question that we ponder a lot of times at night when we by ourselves, nobody's around, and we don't want nobody to know that we don't know why we're here.
Right.
And we sit and we hide when honestly we serve a God that's omnipresent. There is nothing you're going to say to God that God is not already know that you need to ask that question or you need to say that. And
Right.
so when you are talking about your purpose, not everybody else's purpose, your purpose, you should be honest with yourself enough to say, God, what is it? What have you asked me? What did you bring me here to do? I've said this for years. It could be one person that you're going to affect, or it could be millions. But if you never ask the question, you're never going to know. And you'll keep trying to do this and do that, go here and go there. Oh, if I just change where I live at, everything will get better. Oh, if I just hang around these people, things will get better. Oh, if I had this amount of money, my life would be better. Oh, if I had married Johnny, my life would be better. Oh, if I had these many kids, or if I didn't have no kids. We make a lot of excuses as to why certain things are happening to us. Is because we have not actually sat with God and said, God, why am I here?
Right. And let me just say too, because I know on my line I have atheists, and they're like, well, she's talking God, so I don't believe in God, this, that, and the other. But here's the deal. Whether you're an atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, you have purpose.
Yes.
And that purpose was spoken over you. So let me put it in this way. If you want to take God out of the equation, let me put it to you this way, because it's still true. Somebody had a problem and they said, man, I wish we had some vanilla ice cream. And the universe, God, whatever, your mom and daddy got together and you were conceived. Right after they said, I wish we had some vanilla ice cream. And as you grew up with the ability to make vanilla ice cream, to make swirls, to do this and to do that. You can do anything you want to do. It comes naturally to you to handle vanilla ice cream. So
Yes.
now you got this vanilla ice cream, but you don't know why you have it because you haven't asked the question, why do I exist? Why do
Mm-mm.
I have these talents? Why do I have these loves? Why do I like doing this stuff? Why do I not like doing that stuff? Right? And so because you haven't asked the question, you have people over here waiting for that vanilla ice cream that you possess,
Wow.
but they can't get it because they can't find it anywhere else. They
Mm.
need you. And I don't want you to think, oh, well, let me find my natural talent, because sometimes it's skills that you have learned over the years, and those skills are the things that the people need. So she was talking about a process. You can, to be a person of purpose, there is a process. You might get that this is your purpose, but now you got to go through the process so you can walk it out. That's where education comes in. That's where your training comes in. That's where mentoring comes in, and all these other things. So you got to understand that you are here for a reason. You may be here to touch one or millions, but
Right.
let me put it to you this way. If we're at a lake and you throw a rock in the middle of the lake, it makes ripples. So even if you touch one person, that one person is going to touch one person, and that one person is going to touch one person. So at the end of the day, you're thinking that you're insignificant, and well, I'm only here for one person, but you've touched hundreds of people through that one person,
Yes.
because each one has touched someone else. Some people will have what I call a multitude anointing. What that means is you will touch many people at one time, and those many people will go out and touch many people. But whatever your purpose is, you got to know what it is, so you are not wasting your time. Because some of us, we don't want to find at the end of life that we didn't do anything that we were supposed to do.
Mm.
And people died because they did not. And I know somebody's like, oh, she's being melodramatic, but I need you to hear me. People died not being satisfied because what they needed was in you, and you didn't take the time to recognize that you had this gift to give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you shouldn't want that for, I say this analogy all the time about me. I say to God every day, God, I only want my portion. That's all I want. It's mine. I don't want nobody else's. I've never been a jealous person or envious person, never been that person. And so I only want what's supposed to be mine. What God intends for me to have, that's all I want. I don't want nobody else's. But I also say to God that, God, please don't let me come home and have boxes still that haven't been opened. I want to go to heaven where everything has been opened, exposed, everything is free. I have nothing. I'm walking up to heaven empty. I don't want to go to heaven and God goes, oh, you forgot to go do this. And so these many people didn't get what they were supposed to get, or that person didn't receive what they were supposed to receive because you never said it. You never spoke it out. You never talked to them. You walk right past them every day. You never said it. And so I don't want to be that person. I want to be that person that when I go to heaven, I want him to say, welcome in, my good and faithful servant. I don't want him to say, Cynthia, you missed something.
And I'm glad you went there, because I was waiting to see if you was gonna go there. Because we always quote that scripture, and we talk about where, they say, well, Lord, didn't I cast out demons in your name, and didn't I do this in your name, and da 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 da. And he says, depart from me, ye worker of iniquity. What God showed me in that was that, one, he was talking to the Christian, because ain't no sinner gonna be out there doing nothing in
That's
Jesus'
right.
name,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So let me help the Christian. Let me help my brother and sister in Christ.
Absolutely.
We say that our purpose is to win the lost, and it is, but that's not your only purpose. Because if
Yes.
you don't know Jesus in the pardon of your sins, then you can't help somebody come to Jesus. If
Mm.
you can't lead someone where you've not gone. And many times we are not well versed in the word to lead somebody to Christ, because we are regurgitating what we've heard, and we don't even believe it ourselves.
Mm.
So That's what God was saying, is that you're going to be doing things in my name, thinking you're doing the right thing.
Right,
And when
right.
you come before me, because you are not in the shape that I created you to be in, you are not doing the thing that I created you for, I'm going to say, depart from me, ye worker of iniquity. I never knew you, because you are not who I created.
Yes, yes,
You are
yes.
somebody, and that's why I said earlier, God told me I was living saved, but I was on my way to hell, because I was not living out my purpose, and I
Mm,
was trying to say, no, God, this is my purpose. This is what everybody has told me. This is what I see. This is what I'm living. And God said, but that's not how I created you.
mm,
So when you stand
yes.
before me on Judgment Day, all I can say to you is depart, because you are
Right.
not the Linda that I created. You
Yes.
are an imposter.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you
Yes.
want to hear God say, well done, that alone should allow you to say, look, I need some help.
Yes.
I
Yes.
need God to tell me, why am I on this earth? I
Yes.
need God to tell me why I exist, because I need to do all that he called me to do. So
Yes.
I'm not leaving any boxes unopened. So I'm not leaving any blessings untouched,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
because I was born to be a blessing. I was born to be a solution. You have a solution on the inside of you. And guess what? This is the part I love about purpose. When you are living your purpose and doing what God has called you to do, God will show you how to make some money, right? We
Right.
just talked about living and leaving legacies and being wealthy. Live
That's
your
it.
purpose.
That's it. That's
Live
it.
your purpose.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when you live your purpose, your gift, this is what the Bible says.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like
Come on.
preaching up in here. It says your gift will make room for you. So you
Yes.
don't have to fit in anywhere. You got to carve out your space and say, look, this is my gift, and I'm sitting there right here.
Yes.
And can't
Yes.
nobody else sit in this seat. Can't nobody else do what I do. They may do similar stuff, but they can't do what you do. They don't have your experiences. They don't have your heart. They
Yes.
don't have your personality.
Yes.
So you got to remember that. You got to remember that. I love when Rick Warren brought out that shape analogy. He said it's spiritual gifts, it's heart, it's I can't remember what the A, I think attitude, and then personality and experiences. Because that's what makes you uniquely you. That's your thumbprint on life. And so you got to find what your thumbprint is so that you can live it, and then watch your gift make room for you, not just in life, but in your bank account, in
Mm,
your relationships,
yes.
every area. It covers every area of your life. When you are living intentionally, when you're living strategically and on purpose. I like to say, when you're taking a sip of life, strategic, intentional, and on purpose. Take that sip, and I guarantee you, you'll never thirst again.
Just, come on now. Uh, we had church and everything today. And so I'm so excited, and I hope you are all of you who watch this, whether you're watching it live or you watch it on the replay, please understand that when you're talking about your purpose, make sure you know what you are talking about. Not what someone told you, but what God told you, and that you're going to live it on purpose, because it is, you are somebody else's problem solver. You really are. Somebody has a problem, you have the answer. And so that's why we're all here. We're helping other people solve their problems. And it may
Right.
be one person or it may be a million, but that is literally why you're here. Now, what that is, that's a discussion between you and God. That really is. But once you know what it is, then there is somebody who can help you with that. And that is Coach Miss Purpose herself, Linda
Yes,
Hillman,
ma'am.
can
Yes,
help
ma'am.
you walk yourself through that. She has made an offer. I hope you will take her up on it. She has made an offer for you if you just mentioned that you watched it on the show, The Crazy Within, with Crazy Coach Cynthia Robinson. I was watching you, Coach, and I want to be a part of that. I want to do that 12-week program. It's the beginning of the year. Come on, do it, do it, do it. Come on.
Yes.
Like you have these people on TV and they have all these commercials talking about lose that weight, lose that weight. We talk about get your purpose, get your purpose, get your purpose.
Right.
Get your life together, get yourself together so that you can walk out the rest of your time here, knowing exactly who you are.
And know that it's never too late to start. A lot of people want to say, well, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I'm in my 70s. Listen, if God can give Abraham a child at 75,
Come on.
he can use you at whatever age you are. So it's never too late to begin a life of purpose, and he will redeem the years. That's a guarantee that he gave us. You will start to work and feel like, oh man, I've been doing this forever. I told y'all 2004, that wasn't too long ago, but I feel like I've been doing this for all my life. Because it just seems like this is the way it was supposed to be all the time. And so when you get that and you start walking in purpose, you go to bed knowing I've done what I was supposed to do. And if I die tonight, it's okay because I've done what I was supposed to do. And I'm doing it to the people that I was assigned to.
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't get to the people rejecting you part, but listen, I'm letting you know there are people assigned to you. And if you're being rejected by someone, it's probably because they are not your tribe. They are not who you were assigned to.
Come on now.
So you need to run from them anyway.
And we don't win over our time, but it was well worth it. God bless you, my sister.
Yes,
Pastor,
ma'am.
coach, podcast, financial coach, life coach. Linda Hillman, who is doing it all. And I tell you, if you guys do not jump on it, it's going to be on you. The opportunity has been presented, but I am so grateful to have you on my show. I'm so grateful that you decided to come and start off my new season. I truly appreciate it. And
Yes.
I know that God is just going to keep blessing you, that you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And so many people are going to be blessed. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you reaching out to me because, we do things and we're like, God, I don't even know why you have me doing this. And I believe you said you saw it on TikTok, which was something I said I would never be on. So it's remarkable. And I'm always honored to see. And that's just the perfect thing. If you have the resources and the willingness and the influence, God will always give you the opportunities to do what it is that he put you on the earth to do. He will open up doors that you never even knew existed. And so I encourage you to do what God says do. And I thank you for doing you. I thank you for being the crazy coach.
Yes.
Because when I get an opportunity to listen, I'm always blessed by your lives. So thank you so much for what you do. And my last word to you, all the ones that are listening, be you and the world will adjust.
All right. I love that. I love that. Be you and the world will adjust. Well, thank you again. And I just want to say to everybody out there, if you feel like you don't know what your purpose is, she's already told you. The first person you need to have a conversation with is God. But once you have that conversation and you feel like you have clarity on who you are, then I suggest, and I really do suggest, if you don't get it, get yourself a life coach. This wonderful woman of God is right here offering you an opportunity to do a 12-week course, climb every mountain. It's 12 weeks. It is a coaching program that will help you. You get a nice little discount if you just mention the show. And I know you will be blessed. All of us need a coach. And if you ain't got one, you need one. Let me tell you, you need one. We all need a coach. We need that person that holds us accountable for the things that we say we need to do. So on this evening, I am so happy to be back. I'm so happy that you were here. And I pray that God blesses you until we meet again next week. God bless you, everybody. You have a good night, and Crazy Coach is out.